Hello photographers, this is Rob. Wanted to talk to you about two different apps that you can use to help geotag your photos. You may have a camera that does not have GPS capabilities. I know newer cameras nowadays do have it, as well as your cell phones. But for those of you using an older camera that may not have it, this app may be helpful. What you can do is, first I want to talk about gps4camera, which is an iOS app. You can find it in the Apple App Store. It is right down here. We tap on that and we can use this to track the GPS coordinates that you travel and associate that with your camera. We're going to go ahead and allow, while using the app, it does need GPS access. And we start the app. When you're about ready to take photos, go ahead and press start. This will start the recording. This will track your tracks. I usually leave the app running with the camera, with the iPhone in my pocket. And at the end of the day, I'll take it out, download the GPS coordinates, and I'll show you how we can use gps2photos, which is a Mac app, to go ahead and plug everything, tie everything together and get your photos geotagged. Here we're tracking GPS, and we'll talk about the tabs real quick. This is the sync tab. I'll come back to this in a moment. This is where you would have your files. When you complete your tracks and you hit stop, you'll have a new file created here for you. Here's the one we just started. And you have some settings that will provide some information as to how to use the app, tweak your preferences and whatnot. Going back to GPS, we can see it's been running. You can probably maybe use this as a bike computer. This is not the original intent for it, but that possibility is there if you're interested. Going back to files, let's say we finish our track. We go back to files, and now what we'll want to do is be able to get this track onto a computer so that we can go ahead and tie it back to your photos. You can either swipe to the right and it will show you share and delete, or you can just tap on it. There it goes, and it's going to show you your coordinates. Now this is not a very interesting track because the phone didn't actually go anywhere, but when we're ready to share, we hit the share button. I do recommend for GPS to photos, we use the GPX format. We're going to tap on AirDrop. I'm going to select my MacBook. On my MacBook, it's going to come up saying accept and open, decline, or accept. I'm just going to do accept, and I'm going to find that it downloads pretty quickly, and it downloads to my downloads folder. I'm going to tap done, and we're all done here. And you can do this at any time. Right now we're not recording, but what we do need to do is we do need to sync our iPhone app and the time that the iPhone has with the time on the camera. Now the reason we need to do this is the tool that is going to associate the photo to the latitude and longitude coordinates is going to be done by time, and it's imperative that both the phone and the camera be on the same time. The easiest way we can do this, we can go ahead, we can use a QR code. This QR code updates once a second. We can point our camera that we're using to take the photos that we wish to geotag. We point the camera at this QR code, take a photo, and save that along with the photos that we wish to geotag. And then we can use gps2photos and have it coordinate and determine what the time difference is between the phone and the camera, adjust that time, and be able to apply the latitude and longitude to each of the photos from the tracks that you just took. So here we take a photo with the camera. It is imperative that when you do take this photo that the QR code be readable. I do recommend that it take up the full screen. Try to keep it in focus. Try not to use a long shutter speed. You could technically use a tripod if you want to, but I think that just makes this a little more complex than it needs to. I do recommend holding the camera up to your eye and then holding your phone out, running GPS4 camera. Run that about arm's length and try to hold still and take a photo with a high enough ISO that you're able to have a short shutter speed on that so you don't have any blur. Once that's part of the images, go ahead and transfer those also to your Mac, and I'm going to then show you how to use gps2photos to go ahead and geotag them. For gps2photos to work, you're also going to need to run and install the XF tool. You'll notice here there is the XF tool installed to check. If you do not have it, the app will prompt you along with the URL where you can go ahead and download that. We'll go ahead and start the app. We're going to find some files for it. And you're going to drag these into here. Now you can also use the plus sign to go ahead and open the files. You can also remove individual files if you don't want it. You can also hit the delete key to delete these as well. Do note that when you go to run this, do only run this once per set of photos. If you run this twice, it's going to throw the time off. It's going to take the time difference between the QR code and the file time that was updated in the previous instance. It's going to change that time even more, and your geotagging, your GPS coordinates are going to be off for those photos. So please do not do that. If anything, work off of a backup and retrieve the backup to run it again. You notice here that the images to geotag has been highlighted, and it also found a gps4camera GPX file. Now, the QR code image is not highlighted yet. When you go to tag the images, its first step is going to look through all your photos to find the QR code. Once it finds the QR code, it's going to go ahead and then apply the tagging. So we go ahead and tag. Here it's looking for the QR code. We only have 4 photos, so this goes pretty quick. Once it has it, it's going to go ahead and geotag the images. When it's all done, it'll clear out the files. You can then go ahead and take a look at your photos, and they should all be geotagged. So that is, in a nutshell, how you can use gps4camera, gps2photos to go ahead and make GPS recording a little bit easier and to sync them up to your photos and without a lot less work. Hopefully you find GPS2photos and GPS4camera a little bit easier.